back to Core Motivations Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Connolly. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and a Symbis marriage coach. If this is your first time here, I want to give you a special welcome. You have stumbled upon an incredible community. And for those returning, thanks again for not only committing to yourself, but committing to growth through this podcast and the information shared. So, how have you been doing with creating an opportunity to level up your character game as you model character to your kids, for your kids, and others? So, just a quick little reminder of those self care, self love practices. We talked about self awareness, identifying and understanding your personal need, such as I need a break, I need to recharge. Asking the question, does this align with my values? Is this a negative pattern? Is it detrimental to my character? We also talked about self discipline, where we create consistency in our routine, that you are calendaring you and your needs by establishing your non negotiables. As well, we talked about resilience, finding ways to bounce back, foster a resilient nature, continue to build a stronger and healthier you. And we also talked about compassion, prioritizing your needs, acknowledging your well being, standing firm in what's important, remembering you are not bumpable. So, have you been reading any good books these days? Well, for starters, my daughter and I are reading the Hunger Games series, which has been super fun. I watched the movies, but there's, as my daughter keeps telling me, something totally different about reading the books. And truth be told, I believe that we should not just read books to learn something new, but also read books for fun. Books that help you fall in love while exploring new things, new places, and new spaces, allowing your mind to be creative and, of course, unplug for the crazy business of life. Additionally, books I have been reading besides the Bible, oh my gosh, so many Enneagram books. Too many to list. But if you're looking for something that focuses on your number, as well as a devotional, you can check out Tyler Zach's books, which the title starts with the Gospel for, and then each of them are specifically written out for the Enneagram. So it's called the Gospel for Enneagram 1, the Gospel for Improvers, a 40-day devotional for honest, responsible perfectionists. And like I said, there's a devotional for each type. I personally got the Gospel for type 1 and type 2. Also, there's books by Beth McCord where she talks about lots of different things through her Enneagram collection. She's the YEC, or also known as Your Enneagram Coach. And her collection is for also every Enneagram type. And it's broken down into 21 daily readings, helping you unpack your story specifically designed for your type. So if you're looking for another way to grow through Enneagram, I like the book The Road Back to You. I would love to hear about what's on your reading list. Share it with me on Instagram. So last time we were together, we covered some interesting material. How did that sit with you? I'm loving these reminders and new lessons towards character, self-awareness, teaching and modeling to our kids what it looks like, and finding community in places I've never looked before. How about you? I hope you're making those connections. So, speaking about books, I wanted to share some excerpts from the devotional I'm reading. Keep in mind, it is specifically speaking to Enneagram 2. Wow, there's a lot of tongue twisters today, but maybe you can find some connection and apply it to your journey. Now, the author makes sure to not take his time, and he truly just dives into the deep end. Listen to this. Speaking again to twos. You are always thinking about others, and yes, we feel the love. But let me ask you, who are you when no one needs you? What if you don't have to be needed to feel wanted? It can be wrapped up into this one simple statement. God doesn't need you, He wants you. Though others may and have made you feel you were loved because of your helping hands, God wants you just for being you. Can we just take a minute to chew on this? That, for me, is super powerful. I need to remember while deep inside I want to help, I have to realize that, and I quote, my worth doesn't come from being needed, but for the one who made me. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, so we see you, the gospel for Enneagram. Okay, well, that wraps it up for today. Just kidding. Let me tell you what's on the docket today. I would like to get back into all things Enneagram. We're going to look at some of the ways we can relate and understand each type. So, for this week's journey, we will explore how to relate and understand our ones, twos, and threes. But stay tuned. We will check out ways to relate with the rest of our clan, our fours, fives, sixes, sevens, eights, and nines. So, how to relate and understand each type? Well, first, as I like to do, is give a definition to help us navigate the topic before us and apply a little more towards our focus and understanding. So it begs the question, what does it mean to relate? Well, relate as in it makes or shows a connection between, it feels sympathy with or identify with, relate as a way to respond, especially favorably, like as in we like the same music, or I like coffee, a lot of coffee. Coffee, coffee, coffee. Okay, if you know, you know. And relate as in join as it implies bringing into contact or conjunction of any degree of closeness. So other things can explain how you relate are combined, unite, connect, link, and associate. So let's look at the second part, which is understand or understanding. First, we should know that understand is a verb, meaning it is an action. And understanding is what follows that action and is what happens in real time as the moment that you are being present that is corresponding to the verb or action of the defined to understand. So understand as in perceive the intended, meaning of the words of a speaker or language, to become aware or conscious of something, as in come to realize or understand. Understand as a way of interpreting or a view something in a particular way. It's also a way to be sympathetic or knowledgeably aware of the character or nature of. Appreciate, recognize, acknowledge, know, and realize. So, for example, when someone talks to you about a situation they're going through, in order for us, you and me, to find connection with that person and ultimately being able to relate with them, you might share your own experience and parts of your story. You might find ways to show sympathy and compassion, as well as ways to be connected. So, when we look at Enneagram types, the question can and is, how do we relate to each type? And this is important to know as it supports our understanding of a person's core motivation. The why we do what we do in any situation. So we are then able to create space as it allows us to partner. It allows us to show up. It allows us to connect. I don't know about you, but it sure seems like it's been a hot minute since we talked about core motivations. So if you like to write things down, here's a quick reminder of what the core four, as I like to call them, aka core motivations. So here we go. The first one, core fear. This is what a person is always running away from, avoiding, and trying to prevent from happening. Core desire. What a person is always striving for and believing will bring them complete fulfillment. Core weakness. It is the core issue people are always wrestling with. And core longing. The central message that a person's heart is always longing and thirsting to hear. So for today, we're going to explore the first 3 Enneagram types so we can understand them a little better and learn ways to relate. So let's get started. Starting with our beloved moral perfectionist, aka the reformer, Enneagram 1. Okay, so a quick recap on some foundational information about type 1s. And we've talked about this before, but just for a refresher, their core 4 motivations are as follows. So their core fear is being wrong, bad, evil, inappropriate, and unredeemable, or even corrupt. Their core desire is having integrity, being good, balanced, accurate, virtuous, and right. Now, if you're a 1, your core weakness is known as resentment. It is the repressing anger that leads to continual frustration and dissatisfaction with yourself, others, and the world for not being perfect. And of course, core longing. It's what they most want to hear, which is, you are good. So now that we know their core 4, let me share more that will help us relate and understand our 1s. It is important to note that 1s are driven by purpose and a desire to improve. They are conscientious and sensible. They're motivated by a deep internal compass. Ones are ethical, responsible, idealistic, self-disciplined, orderly, and feel personally obligated to improve themselves and the world because they uphold fairness. They possess a strong ethical and moral framework and genuinely want to do the right thing. They are extremely passionate for integrity and excellence in everything they do, acting as a role model in their dedication to quality and ethical conduct. So, how can we relate to our moral perfectionists? When we see their high integrity, we should see it as dependable and trustworthy, that they're committed to doing the right thing, acknowledging their reliable ability and responsibility. They are someone you can count on to follow through, even meet deadlines and do things the right way. We can relate and understand them by seeing that they have a sharp attention to detail. See, their meticulousness ensures accuracy and high quality in their work. Here's something to keep in your back pocket as we continue to find relatability and understanding to ones. A type 1 often does not acknowledge their frustration and even anger because that would be bad. Because remember, their core longing is to be seen as good. So when type 1s are at their best, here's some things that you will see. They show wisdom, balance kindness and respect. They display peace and even a gracious empathy. And they serve the world and others with patience and integrity. They are efficient and organized as they naturally bring order to situations and can create efficient systems. They are even passionate about improvement, always looking for ways to make things better, contributing to personal and professional and societal growth. They truly have a unique sense of mission. So another way to relate, several ways to relate to ones, is we need to respect their need for structure and order. We should take their personal responsibilities seriously, but also point out how good, responsible, and thorough they are. And when you are wrong, ask for forgiveness quickly, enabling for faster reconciliation. And remind them often of your love for them. Okay, my moral perfectionists, let me leave you with this. Now, again, if you're writers and you need to write things down, grab your pen, your paper, your tablet, whatever you use, and write these down. Here's some positive affirmations for type 1s. And I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Are you ready? This should be your affirmation. You should say to yourself, I accept who I am. I embrace myself completely. I forgive myself and others. I choose to be flexible. adaptable, and embrace change. And I will learn to laugh at myself. As I personally acknowledge the hard parts of our Enneagram selves and our peeps, I don't know what happens for you, but I find that as I take a good look at each type's core motivations, I find that I get sad, maybe even a little grieved, that this is how each type views themselves, that this is their reality, that their belief, their core fear keeps you limited in so many ways, or that your core desire can feel and even seem at times unfulfillable and maybe even overwhelming and unsure if it's actually attainable, that your core weakness can get in the way of your fully realized potential, or that your core longing has been with you for so long from the start, and thus far you may have not heard it or even felt it, or maybe you haven't even experienced it, wondering if it would be a part of your reality. So, with that, I believe it can and it should help each of us to stop, pay attention, slow down a little more than we have, and make sure we purpose to show compassion as we show up for each other and, of course, ourselves. Now, of course, this is only to serve as a reminder that the truth is that everyone has a story of what life has been for them, as well as telling a little bit of where they are. That moment on the road that they are on, and even what's ahead. Perhaps this is what makes it possible for us to affix new lenses, to actually take advantage of the new as we discover ways to help and support and understand and relate with each other. Okay, onward. Let's get to know our Enneagram 2s on a deeper level. The supporter advisor, aka the giver. Here's some foundational information about our supporter advisor. And we're going to start with their core 4. Enneagram 2's core fear is being rejected and unwanted, being thought worthless, needy, and insignificant, even dispensable and unworthy of love. Core desire is being appreciated, loved, and wanted, but their core weakness, known as pride, is where they deny their own needs, emotions, utilizing their amazing intuition to discover and focus on the feelings and needs of others. Of course, through that, they confidently insert their helpful support in hopes that others will say how they how grateful, they are for their thoughtful care. Core longing. It's what they most want to hear, which is you are wanted and loved. 2s walk through life prioritizing relationships, making sure the people around them always feel well cared for and loved. They take a genuine interest in others and come alongside anyone in need through their acts of service, helpful advice, and nurture. They seek satisfaction by trying to help because deep down, they struggle with believing that they are loved and wanted by the people in their life, apart from the support they offer. So, what else would be important to know to help us relate with and understand our twos? Well, you can relate through expressing appreciation. Let them know you see and appreciate their efforts. Verbalize how their actions impact you positively. And when you reciprocate their care, remember, type twos give a lot. So it's important to reciprocate their kindness and support. This could be through acts of service, words of affirmation, or even quality time. And when listening, listen actively. Pay attention to their needs and feelings. Ask them about their day. Offer a listening ear and be present when they're talking. This is a big one. Encourage boundaries. Help them to recognize that it's okay to say no and to prioritize their own needs. Validate their feelings. You see, type twos are sensitive. So approach conflicts with empathy and understanding. Avoid accusatory language and focus on their emotions. Remind them they are enough. They may struggle with self-worth. So reassure them that they're loved and valued for who they are, not just what they do. Be patient. Type twos may need time to process their emotions and communicate their needs. Be patient and understanding as they work through things and connect on their level. Engage in activities that they enjoy and show genuine interest in their passions. It's important to note that twos can have these conflict activators, such as when they feel they're being taken advantage of, there's a feeling of unappreciated or underappreciated, that not feeling heard by others. Now remember, these are activators. It's also a sense of not being needed or wanted, and even feeling rejected or dispensed. So here's other ways to help supporter advisors to feel respected, understood, and relatable. A thank you can be lasting and effective. Understand their main focus is to fulfill the need that has either been expressed or through their superpower of just knowing what the need is before you do or anyone in the room. Take time to see that they are in a constant battle with their inner critic that tells them they are not wanted, nor are they loved. So they're trying to find ways to fill that void. So when type twos are at their best, they show they are sincere, humble, selfless, warm-hearted, caring, and generous. They even give unconditional love to themselves and others, maintaining generous approach to life because they're taking care of their own needs. And they give without strings. Okay, my supportive advisors, let me help set you up for success with this. Ready to write down something else? Write down this. Affirmations for an Enneagram type 2. You ready? I love others and myself unconditionally. I have healthy emotional needs. I establish healthy boundaries. And I ask for what I want. Okay, you didn't think I forgot you. Our wonderful type threes, our successful achievers. While you might be our last type for this week, you are certainly not last on the list. So, their core four. Core fear. It's being exposed as or thought incompetent, inefficient, or worthless. Failing to be or appear successful. Whereas their core desire is having high status and respect, being admired, successful, and valuable. Although their core weakness is deceit, as in deceiving themselves into believing they are only the image they present to others. Embellishing the truth by putting on a polished persona for everyone, including themselves, so that people will see them in a certain way and admire them. But their core longing, what they long to hear, is you are loved and valued for simply being you. Threes are optimistic, accomplished, adaptable people who can achieve, excel, and reach ambitious goals with apparent ease and confidence. I have to say that I truly admire this. But on the flip side, due to a fast-paced, comparison-driven society, they struggle to keep up with the belief that they must succeed in every area of life, that they're burdened to appear successful and impress the people around them as they live under this constant pressure to measure their worth by external achievement and confidence. So, how do we relate to a successful achiever, our beloved threes? How do we practice and purpose to understand them? Well, we acknowledge their achievements and efforts. You see, they thrive on success and recognition. So, acknowledging their accomplishments, both big and small, can be very affirming. Use words of affirmation to let them know their hard work is noticed and appreciated. Be mindful, for they also need to hear that they are loved and valued for who they are, not just what they do. Encourage them to express their emotions, because they may suppress their feelings in order to maintain a strong image. So, guess what? We get to create a safe space for them to be vulnerable by helping them to understand that it's okay to feel and express a range of emotions, including sadness and fear and vulnerability. We can help them have a balance between work and rest. See, because they are often driven and can easily overwork themselves, leading to, burnout. So we can encourage them to take breaks, prioritize rest, and find healthy ways to manage stress. Help them to create a healthy work-life balance, reminding them that their worth is not tied to their productivity. Offer practical support and understanding, and we do so by letting them know if they have a big project or deadline, that we can offer to help in practical ways, such as taking tasks off their plate, providing a distraction-free work environment. We can be patient and understanding when they are focused on achieving their goal. But also, gently reminding them to slow down, appreciate the present moment. We can encourage them to be their authentic self. Type 3s can sometimes present a curated image to the world, so we can encourage them to be their genuine selves. Let them know that you value them for who they are, not just the roles they play or the achievements they attain. We can help them connect with their inner values and find fulfillment beyond external validation. So, some things that we can be aware of is that type 3s fear being seen as worthless or unimportant. So, remind them that their worth is inherent and not dependent on their accomplishments. Help them challenge the belief that they need to constantly prove themselves. So, what does it look like when type 3s are at their best? Well, they're self accepting, authentic, modest, charitable, and they're able to express their emotions. They even take off their achieving masks to be known authentically, knowing their self worth and value. They create a good work life balance. They motivate others to become their best selves. They stop comparing themselves to others' accomplishments. Okay, my successful achievers, let me help remind you of some truths. Did you grab your recording device? Are you ready? Here's some affirmations for you. I am authentic. I celebrate the accomplishments of others. I am open to acknowledging my feelings. And I'm ready to learn from my mistakes, as they are part of my personal journey. Well, we did it. We now know some ways to relate and understand with some of our clan, our Enneagram 1s, 2s, and 3s. Guess what time it is? Yep, that's right. It's time to add to our toolbox. So let's talk self care. Now, the following are specific self care practices for 1s, 2s, and 3s. However, if they resonate with you, the listener, and regardless of your type, make a note of them. I also want to encourage those who have not experienced a typing session. As you listen to these, see how these self care practices can help guide you too. Okay, Enneagrammers. Not sure if that is legal, but I like it. Grab a hold of these little goodies and place them in your toolbox to use for your journey. Okay, where are my moral perfectionists? Make room in your toolbox for these fancy tools. Establish good affirmations like these ones I shared earlier, which are I accept who I am. I embrace myself completely. I forgive myself and others. I choose to be flexible, adaptable, and embrace change. And I learn to laugh at myself. And focus on this important message. I am good enough. And try these on for size. Let yourself struggle and fail. Learn to process it and not just avoid it. Challenge the inner critic, the critical voice in your head. While well intentioned, is not the sole authority on your worth or capabilities. This I love. Thank the inner critic for trying to help, but consciously choosing to limit its power and authority. Intentionally plan time to be alone and recharge, because the truth is, the world does not depend on you. And our final practice for our beloved moral perfectionist is practice self-compassion and kindness. Treating yourself with the same understanding and forgiveness you would offer to a friend. Okay, lovely supportive advisors. Ready to make room in your toolbox for these elegant tools? Now, remember earlier we talked about some good affirmations? Let me remind you of them. Here's an affirmations. I love others and myself unconditionally. I have healthy emotional needs. I establish healthy boundaries. And I ask for what I want. And focus on this important message. You are wanted and loved. So try these practices, our beloved supporter advisor, by prioritizing your personal needs and well-being. Now, I know this will be hard, so feel free to take baby steps. Remember, movement is movement, regardless of how much or how far you get. Recognize that caring for oneself it's not selfish, but life-giving for maintaining healthy relationships and providing genuine support to others. Make a date with yourself. Actually put it on the calendar and don't make yourself and your needs bumpable. You need to fill your cup so you can do what you do best, to be the giver that you are. Okay, our sophisticated, successful achievers, ready to make room in your toolbox for these elaborate tools? Okay, well, let's start with the affirmation from earlier. I am authentic. I celebrate the accomplishments of others. I am open to acknowledging my feelings. And I am ready to learn from my mistakes as they are part of my personal journey. Focus on this important message that you are loved and valued for simply being you. So here's some additional practices for our beloved successful achievers. Prioritize rest and downtime. Challenge the need to always be productive. Recognize that rest is not a reward for productivity, but a necessity for well-being. Cultivate self-compassion and authenticity. Embrace your imperfections. Challenge the need for perfection and acknowledge that mistakes are part of growth. Practice self-compassion. Please be kind to yourself. When things don't go as planned, remember the importance to connect with your emotions. Allow yourself to feel and express your emotions without judgment, even the negative ones. And I want to encourage you all, as you journey, that being said, over the next few weeks, practice some of these new practices and principles for self-care and self-love. And remember to be kind to yourself. This is new information, new language, and new thinking, as if you have just received a new pair of glasses. It takes time to adjust to them, right? See, because here at Core Motivations Podcast, we are all about better, not perfect. Practicing something for good. Trying something and remembering that if it does not work, it's not a failure, it's an opportunity. Each of these create openings to try again and the space to learn something new. And the word we all love to hate, love to hear, is be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process and love yourself through it all. Now, some legal stuff. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for medical care. And the materials, movies, videos, or books referred to in this podcast are only recommendations only. And the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast host, that's me, or sponsors. So join me each week as we dive into all things Enneagram, self-care ideas, self-love patterns and rhythms, share ideas from other reputable authors, doctors, and my favorite podcasters. So just a heads up, we'll be taking a few weeks off to take a much-needed and equitable break. And I encourage you all to find time to break away from the dailies, whether it's an hour or a day, and if you're lucky and blessed, take much more time than that as well. It's so important. I'm looking forward to all of us coming back together in August, refreshed and ready to grow in all things Enneagram, and practice some new self-care and self-love rhythms as we add to our toolbox. A big thank you to you for being here with me today on Core Motivations Podcast. I know you've heard me say this before, but truly, thanks for supporting our podcast, as it just couldn't be done without all of you. So you can find me, Michelle, on Instagram at coremotivations_coach or through email, michelle@coremotivationscoach.com. So if you wouldn't mind, indulge me for a moment, as I have not done this before. So as we end our time together, I wanted to share a dedication. I'm dedicating this podcast to a very good friend, and with whom all accounts is family, and who has been battling cancer. Luke, you made me smile more times than I can count, and I am one of your biggest fans. I love you from here to the moon and back. So let me leave you with this. Until next time. And as always, I'm rooting for you.